Okay, welcome. So this video will be a tutorial or learning how to arrange for steel pan or steel bands. We are using the software MuseScore. It's free on the internet. Anyone can get it. So I'll assume you got it and you are clicking on MuseScore and you are choosing instruments. So the first thing you do is steel pan. They say steel drum. Soprano is the lead. The tenor pan. And then you have alto, which is your double seconds. It can be a double tenor as well. I sometimes use it as a double tenor, or mostly double seconds. Other people have, so they would have double tenor, double seconds one, double seconds two. But I won't be doing that today. I'm doing a very simple arrangement. And then they would have guitars, which is your double guitars, or cellos or triple guitars, which I won't have cellos, and then bass steel drums. I typically have just two, with one being the tenor bass and then the other one the six bass, which is the one that I most commonly use. So this is the generic default steel band layout for arranging. And then I typically have drum kit just to give a sound, a fuller sound, or authentic sound. I'll be in C major 4/4. We can change this later. I typically have here 60 or 100 as default. I'll change it again once I've started. The tune I'm doing is Have a Holly Jolly Christmas. Composer, I put it here. Apparently it's Johnny Ox. Haven't fact checked. I typically use lead sheets as a source of reference, so I'll just have the default melody, and then the chords I'll work out and figure out the rhythm and the bass line and whatever. But I typically use lead sheets, and then I do it in the version that I would like it to be. So in case you're wondering, as you can see, it's Johnny Marks. I did in fact check this as well. So yeah, and then I typically have the arranger here. I'm saying 2026 because it's the end of the year. And then I typically put a dedication here, or whoever wrote the lyrics of the song, which I'm not sure of now. Okay, so this is how it looks. This is the master copy. And then if you want separate parts, you go to parts or individual scores. And these are all the parts. These are all the tabs here. Drum kit. If you want to change anything specific to a certain instrument. This is your mixer, where you have all the volume controls, sound controls, reverbs, etc., to balance out things. What else? And then it's important, if you're arranging for steel band group, it's important to know who you're arranging for, and also the instrument layout, or more specifically the range. So use semi briefs for tenors, typically D tenor pan. That the D tenor pan that's most common in South Africa. But I know that out there there's the C tenor pan and other tenor pans that I don't know of, but the typical most used ones is the D. But I'll just say C. I'll just say C. And it goes up to F sharp above the stave. That's the range of a tenor pan that I mostly I'm aware of, or mostly use. Then the double seconds, their range starts from F3. I know of others that start from E3, but the most common one is F up until B flat above the stave. For guitars, It's the range starts from C sharp in the bass clef actually, but I forgot to do this actually. But for the guitars, I typically use the octave down clef, octave down treble clef. Okay, so that's where they start, which is actually in the bass clef, or runs in the bass range, and then it goes up to G sharp in the treble clef, which is there around here for the guitars. It's just very good to know all of these, because you don't want notes clashing into each other from different voices, because each instrument has a distinct timbre, so you need to know all of that before you even start arranging. And also, so I call this the so there's the range of the instrument, the normal range, and then you have the ideal range, which I'll talk about later on. So the bass starts from B, 1, and then it goes up to E, E3. So this is the range. These are the ranges of the steel pans that are most common in South Africa that I'm involved with, or that I typically arrange for. Before you start any arrangement, it's important to know this. And so this is the typical range. And then, as I spoke about before, then you have the ideal range, where you get the sweet sound, the sweet spot, like the most soothing sound. You don't want those uncomfortable notes, and those are typically the very high one or the very low ones. For the bass, if you're using the B, C, C sharp, D, and E, for me, E flat and E actually, for me, it's always best to double it. It's always best to double it, meaning, so let's say we have B, 1. For any note that you're using, you want to double it. So B, C sharp, C, double it, C sharp, double it, D, double it, E flat, double it, E, double it. Only when you get to F, I would just use the F. It also doesn't have by default an octave up, the 6th bass that I know. So whenever you're playing, if you want a fuller sound, double the octave of those bass notes, of those 6 bass notes. Okay. Then the other thing is the ideal range for the bass doesn't really matter. It's fine as is. All the notes, if you need to use them as is, you can, but ideally you want to double those bass notes. For guitars, I wouldn't recommend using the C sharp. So the ideal range would be not the C sharp, not the D, not E flat. Start from E. Always start from E. And then you can invert the chord however you want. And you can go as high as you want if you need to, but I wouldn't go past the C here, the ideal range, because as soon as you go above the C, you're going into the double seconds range. And then so this is the ideal range. And then here for double seconds, ideal range would be from A or B flat, but I'll say A, up until G. That's the ideal range that you want to use. This is just for chords and strumming, and you don't want to really clash with other ranges. As you can see, this A is already within this range. It's crossing voices there, but it's still fine. And then for tenor, doesn't really matter. But when you go on the ledger lines, so you can start from C, middle C, which is fine, or D, which is fine. So I'll just say C, which is the ideal range, starting range up until B flat there. Now, as soon as you go from that B flat up, sorry, the B flat, as soon as you start playing the B flat and up, for example, let's say you play B, you want to double it. These notes here, you want to double it. C, C sharp, E, E flat, E, F, F sharp. All of these notes you want to double. All of them above, because the lower range reinforces the higher note. So that's just how I use it, and I found it to work for me. But again, there are other people that do it differently, etc., etc. So this is what I do. Part 1 done.